you summoned me. I have returned. It's part of my identity that when you leave a comment on a video I make, sometimes it just repeats the circle of life. It explains on this channel how it continues to grow because people like talking about these things. And I like to be the host of a channel in which we can talk about these things. I made a video called How You Feel About Columbus Day Reveals Your Ethnicity and Your Political Leanings, which to me is just very obvious. People in America who defend Columbus Day are more likely to be European descent, and they're more likely to be conservative Republicans. On the other hand, people who question it and think it's ridiculous that we have a holiday that celebrates a European man discovering a whole continent after it had already been there with people living in it, people living there for 10,000 years before he got there. Those people are more likely to be liberal Democrats, or at least libertarian, which is what I am, and also more likely to not simply just be European descent. They tend to be, coincidentally or not coincidentally, something beyond European descent, which just so happens Christopher Columbus discovering America, he was European. So to me, that's a little subtle, interesting thing that I wanted to talk about. I made that video, and now that I've done that refresh, I want to share just this opening line of a comment that someone left, saying, quote, "And Thanksgiving too, perhaps the first people of English and Irish descent." He goes on to leave a comment, but ultimately got me thinking, okay, well, do we need to explore that too? Do we need to explore the concept that if people like me are going to say that Columbus Day is ridiculous, are we going to say the same thing about Thanksgiving? I mean, because in my mind, to me, Thanksgiving is a time when you get together with family, you have a big meal, and you hang out and you don't work. That's Thanksgiving. It's a great American holiday. But growing up, there's this concept of, okay, well, the Pilgrims and the Native Americans, and they had a meal together and everything was great, and I guess obviously worse things happen afterwards. Now, by the way, I'm from a place called Fort Payne, Alabama. You can go there. You can go to the city park and you can read the government sign that tells the history. The sign, 1983 is when they made the sign. It still says that. It explains how Fort Payne, Alabama got its name. How did it get its name? Oh, Fort Payne. No, people ask me, is it some kind of military base? Fort Payne was where they gathered Native Americans, specifically Cherokee. The ones who refused to leave, they gathered them all up in a fort, and then from there sent them on their way on the Trail of Tears. And the military leader there, who was in charge of all that, his last name was Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. I think his first name was John, maybe. Either way, his last name was Payne, and they named the town after him. That's where I'm from. So when I think of something like that, I'm very aware, I'm very woke of the whole concept of Native Americans, and we all are. It's interesting. So we went from, Thanksgiving, Pilgrims and Native Americans in the same place sharing a meal, and we can all celebrate our differences and appreciate each other, to Fort Payne, where I'm from, and they naming the town after a guy who we're celebrating, a man who got all the stragglers to make their way to Oklahoma. So, in essence, though, if I'm going to say Columbus Day is ridiculous, is it fair to say that Thanksgiving is ridiculous too, because it borrows off of those ideas and how the Native Americans were treated by the people who ultimately ended up making America great the first time? Because if we're making America great again, I guess it was great the first time. I'm not sure when exactly that was, but let's assume that was the first time we made America great, when we sent the Native Americans on their way out of my hometown and then named a town after that man who did that. So obviously there's a huge disconnect, and things got a lot worse afterwards. So here's me answering my own question. If celebrating Columbus Day is ridiculous, does that mean celebrating Thanksgiving is ridiculous? And I say, it's two different things. I don't think that the main concept of Thanksgiving is about Pilgrims and Native Americans anymore. I think it is simply this: hang out, friends and family, eat too much, and don't work. That's Thanksgiving. Oh, I guess people watch football there, right? Okay, that's what people do, and they eat turkey, right? Okay, I'm a vegan, yeah, so I don't eat turkey. Yeah, I can't do that. But that's Thanksgiving. It's a pretty simple concept. Don't work, eat food, hang out with people, specifically family that you don't see all the time. That's Thanksgiving. You're thankful for what you have. It's a good, emotionally intelligent concept because so many people see themselves as victims all the time and they can't be grateful for what they have. Instead, they're worried about what the other people have. And of course, we all know what people do with social media. As they're scrolling, they're finding out who's having a better time than they are, and then they have to pretend like they're having at least just as good enough time, and then mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the coolest, prettiest, funnest, best looking of them all, and then they have to put their own status on there, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. That's what people have to do. So in that kind of culture that we live in 2018, I think Thanksgiving is a great thing because it reminds us that if you're so busy trying to compare yourself with other people all the time, and something as silly as social media, then we need to be grateful. We need to take a moment. We need to take a long weekend. Oh yeah, I'm grateful for what I actually have, not what someone else has. Not coveting my neighbor, right? That's Thanksgiving. But when you make it simple, that's what Thanksgiving is. But when you think about Columbus Day, I mean, we associate the word holiday with Columbus Day. That is crazy. And then what happens on top of that? What's the main thing that happens on Columbus Day anyway? Stores have sales. Oh, come down here for 40% off. It's Columbus Day. So we're having a sale at the store because a European man discovered a piece of land where people have been living for 10,000 years. So we're going to have a sale for that. That's what Columbus Day is. That's all it is. There's nothing to celebrate. I mean, other than what we exist because of European ancestors that discovered this place. And am I supposed to have a moral dilemma somehow because, again, about a quarter of my DNA is Native American via Mexico and about a third of it is Spain, so I should be in conflict? Oh, but I wouldn't exist if Columbus wasn't yeah, okay, yeah. But still, no, I don't think we can compare Columbus Day and Thanksgiving. They're two different things, and I understand we can do that with any American holiday. We can say, oh well, okay, we'll look at Christmas. Look at Christmas. Christianity just put their own stuff over something that had already existed, this pagan festival, and they turned it into their own. I mean, I know that we can do that with any holiday, but if we want to talk about that it shouldn't even be a holiday, because to me it's so just racist, obviously racist, is Columbus Day. That shouldn't be a day. And then to have sales to celebrate that, because that's the only thing you really celebrate on Columbus Day. So, please leave a comment because it will extend this conversation. But again, let me remind you, if you are Republican or conservative, you're most likely to hate this video. If you're liberal or libertarian, you're more likely to understand the true message on here. That ultimately we can be reduced to such obvious labels based on a silly holiday that we call Columbus Day. Your thoughts belong where? Right here.